cooking along with me, so
Aw.
I'll get to smell it and eat it. That's okay. I'm happy to show you, and it's an easy one. So
We're
Okay, I guess.
spectators. We want to pay good attention.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
really. So I guess we can get started. So I'll just let anybody in who, gets here a little late. I hope it's not because they're having issues, but I'm so glad everybody's here. We love having Ashley here. And like she said, join us next month and take it away, Ashley.
Okay, so hi I think that those of you who are here right now already know who I am, but if you don't, my name is Ashley. I live in Ossining. I write about food recipes on Big Flavors from a Tiny Kitchen, bigflavorstinyKitchen.com, and I'm on social media at Big Flavors. And this month's theme for our virtual potluck with the Ossining Library is Middle Eastern food. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about a bunch of different types of Middle Eastern cookbooks, and now we're going to make a Middle Eastern dish. So I'm going to start with rice. So if you're cooking along later because you're watching a replay, or now, which I don't think any of you are, but I'm just going to heat up in a medium saucepan. Well, this isn't quite a saucepan. This is like I'm using a Dutch oven type of thing because I really like how this cooks rice. Although a lot of times I cook rice in an Instant Pot, but just like a medium size saucepan. And what I like to do when I'm making rice is I like to put a little oil in the pot and then toast the rice grains first, then add in the water, bring it to a boil, and then cover it and let it steam. I just think that it brings out a little bit more flavor in the rice. You can also, with basmati, which is the type of rice we're using right now, it's a lot of Middle Eastern and Indian cuisine uses. I'm just using Stop and Shop brand. You can buy big, huge bags from like Asian markets. I have a tiny kitchen, so I keep them kind of small. But basmati is really aromatic, and I like toasting it like this. Otherwise, on the package directions, they tell you to bring the water to a boil first, stir in the rice, cover it, and let it steam. So I'm just going to put a cup of rice in my oil and just let it stir for a couple minutes. Stir it for a couple minutes until the grains turn from this like kind of translucent to a little bit opaque. They'll start getting a little bit white. So I'm just tossing it around in here. You can also add, like, not necessarily for this, but you could add a little garlic in with it, toast that up. Any sort of like dry spices that you like could be nice. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with rice. And if anybody has any questions while I'm talking or tips, hi kitty, feel free to jump in. So plain basmati rice is great. I'm gonna add a little dried dill once I get the water in. I think one of the recipes in the PDF from last time had, there's a lima bean and dill rice that I really like making. A lot of Persian restaurants will have like fava beans too. There's a lot of ways you can go with that. So I'm just letting this sizzle a little bit. While that's happening, I'm gonna line, this is a half sheet pan. I always thought this was a full sheet pan. It's a half, and when you, it's really convenient. It fits in like a home size oven, but I do wanna show you, I have found it incredibly convenient to also own quarter sheet pans. It's half the size of this. It's great for like if you're making, you already have your oven going and you don't need to cook a lot. You can also throw in a tray of veggies at the same time. And it's like, it's a nice way to just kind of use your oven for more things at once. I'm gonna line this with foil just because it makes cleanup easier. I'm using ground lamb today. And it's got a lot of fat in it. So it's just a little easier if you line your sheet first. I hear my rice sizzling. Let's see if you can actually see this over here. They're getting a little more white versus that like translucent thing. So now that they've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and add in, this was a cup of rice. I'm gonna do 1 3/4 cups of cold water. And when you're making rice, usually you want to have it boiling, put the lid on, then lower the heat and let it simmer with the lid on until it's done. should come up to a boil pretty fast since we've already been sauteing some stuff in there. Just put it up on high until it does. I'm also going to spray. This is a reusable oil thing instead of like Pam or whatever that you can buy in the store. I like this because you can put whatever oil you want in here. You just, when it's empty, if you clean it with water and a little vinegar, that'll help make it so it doesn't clog. So this presses air into it and then sprays on just like Pam or something. So I put olive oil in here. You can put peanut oil, whatever type you cook with most frequently. This is boiling now, so I'm gonna pop the lid on and set a timer for 20 minutes. Alexa, set a rice timer for 20 minutes. And I just turned it to low. I have to say, having Alexa be, Alexa, never mind. Having that, you can do multiple timers while you're cooking, and it's really convenient because you can have like, this is when the rice is done, this is when the meat is done, and it's great for multitasking. So I'm just gonna set this pan out of the way, and I'm gonna show you the kebab mixture. I'm gonna take my rings off because the best way to do this is with your hands. I'm using a pound of ground lamb today. This recipe is great with beef, lamb, or Beyond Meat or any vegan ground that you like. If you want to do a plant-based type, I've tried that and we all really enjoyed it. I really like the flavor of the lamb with it. So I'm just putting that right in the bowl. I also like to, if you can remember to take ground meat out a little bit before you have to work it with your hands, it'll help you not get like super freezing cold fingers because it retains the cold for quite a while. So into here, I'm gonna add an egg. So just a large egg. And one tip that I like is instead of cracking an egg on the side of a container, like a bowl, where the shells can kind of push inside there, I like doing it on a flat surface, like a cutting board or the counter, and just tap it. And I always crack it in a separate container first, because if you've ever gotten a rotten egg, you know how, yeah, I see she has, is just awful. And if I put it right in here, I would have ruined all of whatever I had going on in the bowl. So also, if you get a shell in there, you can just use this to scoop out whatever piece got in there. So a pound of meat and 1 egg. And I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of fresh parsley that I chop. This is actually a quick version of the way my dad used to make kebab that involved like grating an onion, which is great, but keeps everything nice and tender. But, you know, it's a little bit of work. So that I use dried minced onion, and you still get that nice flavor, but it's just, this is kind of making it more doable on a weeknight. And anything sheet pan, I feel like, is really nice for a weeknight. If you were to double this, let me preheat my broiler. If you have an electric stove like I do, you want to leave your door cracked. Usually there's like a hinge that it'll stay partially open when you have your broiler going, and set the broiler to high. If you have a gas stove, you can leave it closed while it's heating up. The reason is with an electric stove, if the door is closed, the element will keep kicking on and off, on and off. If it's open, it's not gonna kick off, it's gonna stay on the whole time. So your stuff will actually cook at the right speed. I mean, you can do it with it closed, it'll take a lot longer, and that kind of ruins the whole weeknight vibe of it. So about 3 tablespoons of parsley with the egg and the lamb. And then I'm gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of dried minced onion. This is one of my favorite ways to add flavor to things. If you can find the toasted kind, normally it's white and this is a little brown, and it's so much more aromatic. I really, really like it. Measure that into there. And again, you're not like grating an onion, but grating onions is really nice for certain things. But this is a quicker one. I'm gonna add some kosher salt and fresh cracked pepper. I have a salt, little like thing on my wall that I got off of eBay years ago. It says Bonanza salt, and they wouldn't let me just get the salt thing. I had to get this bowl, like a ceramic bull's head with horns that you would hang. It was supposed to be like a towel holder. I was like, I don't want that. So we gave that to Goodwill, but it came as a set. I only needed something to keep the salt on the wall out of my way. So let's see, a quarter teaspoon of ground cinnamon. That's something that really, it's not much, but it really makes a difference in the flavor. It makes it taste, instead of like a meatloaf, it tastes like that warm spice is really nice addition to Middle Eastern dishes. And cinnamon. Okay, so that's it for this. So it was only a couple of ingredients for this, and I'm gonna mix it with my hands, which is super gross, but the best way to do it. And what I do is, once I get everything kind of evenly distributed, I make it into like one big flat patty in here. It doesn't have to be perfect. And actually, when my dad makes regular kebab with beef, he really mixes it a lot with his hands, where you would think it would get tough, but he will mix it a lot, but the onion juice kind of helps keep it moist. So I make it kind of flat, and then I'm going to make 8 pieces out of this. So I can just kind of score it down the middle again, and then I'll take half of each of those to make 8. You could also make 6. A lot of times I'll double this because we really like this dish, and I have a growing boy and a husband here. So if you're going to double it, I would recommend doing one batch at a time, because the broiler is right up on top and you want it to be close to the heating element. So I've got one of my sections. I realize this is kind of gross looking, but delicious when cooked. I have it in a ball, and I'm just going to kind of flatten it into like an oval, just kind of like an elongated shape. And I'm going to pop that right onto the broiler pan. Make sure to, when you're doing broiling, that you don't use a non-stick baking sheet. I have a non-stick baking sheet that's great for cookies, but those are only safe up to like maybe 400 degrees or so, and broiling is a lot more intense than that. So, and sometimes I'll make a couple like smaller little ones. I'll make them the same thickness, but I'll make them a little smaller for my son, so he feels like he has something a little special that's just for him. Like, you know, when you make pancakes, and like my grandma always used to make a couple like really itty bitty ones, and they were like just for me, and it was always so special. So sometimes I do that too. So pretty much once you have these, we're just gonna add on, I have some cherry tomatoes, and then I like cutting up an onion into wedges, and you bake it, or you broil it for 8 minutes, flip over the meat, and another 8 minutes, and that's it. So if you don't want to make rice, you can serve these inside of pita bread as sandwiches, which is really, really good. Or you can, like, there's a lot of brands of already cooked rice that you just microwave. That's really convenient to have around, especially if you're trying to pull a meal together quickly. And I know you can freeze cooked rice too, if you do a bigger batch of it. So here's my last one. And I just am kind of leaving a little space around each of them, kind of like when you're baking cookies. Let's wash that up real quick. Anybody have any questions so far, or comments, or favorite types of one-pan, sheet pan meals that you like eating? Because I always think it's fun seeing like what other people are interested in for those. Okay, well, feel free to interrupt me at any time. You can unmute yourself. It's very casual. So while I usually do 2 onions when I sent my husband to the store. These are very big, so I'm probably just gonna do 1. I'm just gonna peel it and cut it into some thin wedges. Usually I would do 8 wedges from 1 onion, but I feel like since it's only gonna be cooking for 16 minutes, probably a couple more wedges to make it cook faster, because I kind of like when they get a little charred on the edges. So I'm just gonna take each half, cut it in half, and then cut a couple little wedges. So I've got like some little pieces that I'm gonna scatter throughout the sheet pan. And you can always, if your meat is done, but your onions aren't quite where you want them, you can take the meat off of the pan and just put those back in. So I've got my 8 kebabs on here. Just gonna kind of divvy the onions out. And then I sprinkle on grape tomatoes or cherry tomatoes, whichever. So I've got plenty of room for some tomatoes now. About a pint, I guess. I asked for a lot. We eat a lot of tomatoes, so I've got a large container, but I'm just gonna rinse off a bunch and pop them on there.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
So is it just beef or ground beef or lamb that's advisable to use? Can you use like ground turkey or?
You know, the reason that I have had somebody make this with ground chicken, the texture when you broil it, because of how long you have to cook it to get it to cook through, is not great.
Okay.
So I wouldn't recommend poultry, but you certainly can. Just know that the texture might not be as great. I think a lot of times they're kind of lean too.
I gotcha.
So this is what this looks like. And then I'm just gonna spritz a little more oil, or if you have, you can drizzle lightly, just onto the onions and the tomatoes kind of. Actually, when I first started making this recipe, I thought I had to like use a leaner ground beef because I was worried that the fat on the pan was gonna be gross. It ended up, you pull it off of the pan, so it just stays there. It's on the foil, you ball it up and it's good. So I'm seasoning on top of everything, including the meat, with a little salt and pepper. And then I'm gonna do it for the runaway onion. All right, I'm gonna do it for 8 minutes, flip it, and then just another 5 is good for the meat usually. Alexa, set a kebab timer for 8 minutes. Okay, so that's going. The other thing that I like with pretty much any Middle Eastern dish, or if I'm eating Indian food, I'll make like raita as kind of the equivalent. It's called mast kiyar. Mast is yogurt, kiyar is cucumber. So it's just a nice cooling thing to have next to anything. And if you're doing this in pita bread, it's really nice to drizzle it in with the pita, or put some in first, put the kebab on top and your veggies, and then maybe a little more because it's really good. So I've got, when you're making this at home, I make a lot. I think I scaled it back. You can sub tzatziki too, like store-bought tzatziki is totally fine. So 2 cups of plain yogurt. That's more than this. This is some that I made in my Instant Pot. It's really easy to make yogurt if you never have. And if you have an Instant Pot especially, it's like got a whole incubation setting that's really nice. But so I've got a little more than that. About 1/4 of an English cucumber, which are these long skinny ones. They're usually wrapped in plastic. That's pretty much the only type of cucumber I get, unless I'm getting those little itty bitty ones for snacking. And then some dried mint will go in there. I have another favorite trick that I learned a couple of years ago, and I was like, how did I not know this before? I'm gonna just peel it with a vegetable peeler. This piece at the top removes seeds. from cucumbers, and I had no idea. And it's similar. This is a Y-shaped peeler, so they're just kind of different styles, but you can use this little loop. And I'll show you, it makes taking the seeds out super easy. This recipe, you don't need to take the seeds out. I just want to show you because it was like total game changer for me. Oh, and also when I learned that you could push down or up with them too. It's got a little like swivel in there. So I'm just gonna cut this down in half. And then I see English cucumbers are seedless, but there's something that's like seeds. They're like more digestible seeds, and I think the skin is a little easier. Some people have problems with like heartburn from eating cucumber skin, my husband included, but these ones don't really bother him. So you kind of push this in here and it just like, it comes right out. Just like, so like if you want to do one of those things where you like stuff cucumber with something like a goat cheese mix would be really nice. You could do this, take all the seeds out, stuff it, and then slice it into little pieces. And it's just an easy way to do it. So I'm not going to take the seeds out of this half though. I'm just going to dice them like kind of smallish. And I'm just going to put it right into the container. And this will stay good in the refrigerator for several days. There's also a version that's really nice that has walnuts and currants mixed in too, so you get like crunchy and sweet. The cucumber one is, fairly crisp, but adding those really kind of makes it next level. But you have to be in the mood for it. Like if whatever you're eating leans toward the sweeter side, you might not want the currants in there. You could also use raisins. Currants are like pretty much small raisins.
I love golden raisins.
Oh yeah, that would totally work.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's always one regular raisin in the golden raisins, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're all golden, and then you see one, you're like, you're trying to hijack this box.
I use golden raisins for a curry dish that I make
yeah,
with unsweetened coconut flakes.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I mean, I would say anything you have on hand, like you could try it with like dried cranberries, like
yeah, absolutely.
A lot of, let me turn this fan on. It's already starting to smell like really good meat now. A lot of Persian recipes will have like sour cherries, and you can get dried sour cherries. Those would probably be great too. Or those barberries, like I showed you last time, would probably be nice in there too. I might do that. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna grab them. I have them stashed in my freezer because we kind of. Oh, I'll show you too. Last time when we were talking about cookbooks, I had just made kuku sabzi. It was an egg dish with fresh herbs. I vacuum sealed some squares of it and froze it. So these are frozen, and we'll have them another day. I think it's gonna work really well. We just got kind of like, it was a big pan and it was just the three of us. We got a little burnt out on the leftovers, but I'll be glad for them another time. I used to be kind of like leery about freezing things, but I think if you can get all the air out, it helps a lot. I use a food saver for that. Have like a unit right back here that's got bags or a roll of bags, and you put stuff in there, you load it in, and it'll suck all the air out and then heat seal it. So while I don't, and you can reuse the bags if you have something that's like a smaller size to put in there. Because I don't love wasting using the plastic, but I figure it's helping me have less food waste. So it's kind of a trade-off. So I'm gonna put, here are these in better light. I know it was a little dark last month. So I'm gonna put some of these in here. Also, I don't know if you've tried the Google Translate app on your phone. You can hold something up to something that's written in another language, and it'll translate it on the fly for you. It's not always completely accurate, but sometimes it's kind of funny. but it's handy. It takes the text and it just places it like right over the top of it. So I've got those in there. Sorry for the crinkling sounds. Then I'm gonna add, I always end up tasting this after I season it and put everything together because the yogurt can handle a good amount of salt, but I don't want it to be too salty. So I usually do about a half a teaspoon to start of kosher salt. And that's the one that's a little like bigger chunks versus like a table salt that's really fine grained. If you're gonna use table salt, start with half the amount because you can get about twice as much of that in the same size as a kosher salt, and you don't want it to be super spicy. I mean, salty, super salty. A little bit of dried mint. I dried this in my air fryer. If you haven't, I think you can do it in the oven. I don't have a dehydrator, but there's a dehydrator function on the air fryer. So this was from my, everybody has mint taken over their gardens. So it smells really good, and it didn't take that long. It's a fun experiment, and it's cheap to do. Alexa, stop. My rice timer's done. I'm just gonna.
Your kebab timer.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Both of my timers went at the same time. So right now you can see I'm just getting brown on the top of each piece of meat. I'm gonna flip over just the meat so that the other side can get nice too. I start the other side with 5 minutes and just see if it feels like it needs to be cooked a little more, or depending if you like your meat a little more well done. Lamb you can do, pink in the middle if you like that, which we do. But I'm not adding any more salt to it like this. I'm gonna pop it right back in. Alexa, set a kebab timer for 5 minutes. All right, now I'm gonna check on my rice. Sometimes it needs a couple more minutes. Oh, that looks great. Let's see if I can bring this over. You can tell it's nice and fluffy, although there's not a bunch of water on top. If it still looked a little soupy or you stirred it and it felt a little wet, just leave it, cover the lid and leave it for another couple minutes. I'm just fluffing it around. I didn't put the dried dill in when I put it in the oven, so I'm gonna put some in now. Dill. Where's my dill? Oh, here it is, because I showed you guys earlier. I think personally that the rice can handle a good amount of dill, so I'm probably gonna put like 2 tablespoons in there. I just stir it around until it's nicely flecked. And then often we'll add a little bit of butter too. So I've got just some nice green flecks in there, and it smells so good. So to do that, I'm gonna grab a little butter. Just like a tablespoon or 2. Whenever I would go to a Persian restaurant, we would take those little packets of butter and just like tuck them underneath the rice to let them melt down. So I'll just stir it a little bit and I'll put the lid back on. And then when we go to plate it, I'll stir it again to make sure there's no giant bubble of butter, though my son would love that. So the mint, when I'm using dried mint, I like to rub it between my hands to kind of release the fragrance from it. And also it helps you feel if there are any stems, because those will be a little tough to eat. That'll happen with packaged dried mint and also like if you make your own. So I just kind of rub it right into there. And I'll probably add, I wrote 1.5 teaspoons, but I'm using a little more yogurt. You can always add more later. Okay, the only other thing going in there is about 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice. And this is one of my other things that like totally blew my mind that I was doing wrong for years. And citrus squeezer like this. I always assumed that you have your lemon, that you should put it in this way because it matches the shape of it, and then squeeze it down with the cut side up. Put it in this way with the curved side up because that helps compress it better, and the holes down here will catch all the seeds. So, and it really gets like all of the juice out. It gives you these little like inverted lemon discs when you're done. So I've got all that up on top, and I'm just gonna stir it all together, and then I'll taste it to see. Sometimes it needs a little more lemon or a little more salt. Because if it's tasting a little bit bland, a little bit of salt usually will fix that. You can see it's really nice sauce. You can use Greek yogurt too if you like. Doesn't matter. Just make sure when you're buying yogurt that you get plain, not vanilla, because they look very similar. That's not a good mistake to make on something like this. So I'm just gonna taste this and make sure. Yeah, this you can make ahead of time, just cover it and store in the refrigerator. We're gonna eat this after class, so I'm gonna leave it out. The last thing I wanna show you is if you're doing this as sandwiches and you wanna heat up some pita bread, you can either, ooh, I'm making a mess over here. You can wrap some pita in a damp paper towel and just microwave it for, start at like 15 seconds and see if they feel warm enough. Otherwise, I have these reusable, they're called stasher bags, it's silicone. So I do this with tortillas for tacos. I do it with pita bread. And actually the whole thing does fit in there, but I'm gonna cut it in half because we're gonna make little like sandwiches. And you just put it right in here, and then don't fully close it, but you can close it mostly and microwave. So I'm gonna start, Alexa, stop. Check my kebab. I feel like I'm gonna give it another minute. I'm gonna do like 20 seconds on there because these ones are pretty soft. The wet paper towel will help if your pita's feeling a little stale, like a little hard. The wet paper towel, not wet, like just damp, it'll kind of give it a little more moisture to help make it flexible. And if I was like bringing these all out to the table, like with tacos or with this, you can just leave them in here, and because it's almost sealed, it'll stay nice and warm for a while. You can freeze these, you can put them in the oven. They're really, really nice. And they come in all sorts of sizes. So, I'm just gonna kind of touch those to see if they're super bouncy. They might be a little too raw, but these feel good. So here's what it looks like out of the oven. The tomatoes are nice and like bursting and brown, so they get like really super sweet. And all the meat is kind of caramelized on top. The onions could probably use a little more time in there, but I'll show you like the whole plate if you want to do it. So I'm just gonna scoop a little rice. Turn my broiler off. Stir in that butter. A traditional side also would be a salad, a little plate that's just got pieces of feta, cheese, and radishes, and a lot of times curly parsley. That's a really nice, like fresh side to go along with it. Here's the rice, and I think I showed last time this is that saffron spray. So it's an aerosol. You just, come on, this is a new one. Oh, does it have a thing on it at first? There we go. And it just kind of stains the rice a little bit. And it's a really nice flavor, and it's very fun for kids. Just don't go crazy spraying it. It says apply from a distance of 6 to 8 inches over your salads, grilled meat, and toast. I like putting it on rice. And then you can just do the kebab and the veggies on the side, or if you want to do them in a pita, like a sandwich, I like using a taco holder because it keeps it upright and so it doesn't spill all over the place. If you put it this way, it holds 2, this way it holds 3, but this way is too wide for my plates. So I put it up like that. Get my very warm pitas. And just kind of like prop them open. Actually, these ones are wheat, or these ones are flax, oat bran, and whole wheat, so they're a little thinner. But I'm just gonna tuck in a little kebab into each. You can do 2 or 1. Just gonna tuck those into each, and I'm gonna put some of the veggies in, or fruits and veggies, I guess, because tomatoes are fruits. Pop them right inside. You could also do raw tomato, lettuce, raw red onion if you wanted to just make the meat and do it kind of like more of a like a lunchy type sandwich with some cold toppings. So I just got the tomatoes and kebab stuffed in there. Gonna add some onions. And when I do leftovers for this, when I double it, a lot of times I'll throw in the microwave with the kebab, I'll throw in a couple more tomatoes just like this, like not cooked. I'll throw them in the microwave with it and they cook down just enough. Like they kind of get nice and juicy. So I'm gonna stick those in there. Feta cheese would be great inside of it also. Then drizzle this. We'll drizzle a little bit of muskia right on top. And me, I'll put a big puddle of it next to it too, because I like also dipping. But is that a really good, really easy, if you're not chit-chatting while you do it, it comes together in like 20 minutes. So
That
really,
looks great, Ashley.
yeah.
I want some.
If you make it, let me know what you think. I always, the first time I taught this one virtually, somebody commented in her review and said, I'm actually angry that I didn't know I could have something this flavorful that easily.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I forgot, I told you guys about ground sumac last time. It's like a citrusy kind of spice, and it's great on meat. I'll usually sprinkle some on top of the meat and on top of the rice and the yogurt. It's just a little extra something. But so that is my easy weeknight meal. If you guys have any suggestions or types of, oh, I'm glad your mouth is watering. Mine is too. I'm just like, the restraint to not just like go to town on this right now it's hard, but I'm doing it. But yeah, if you have any topics that you would like to talk about, it's always fun to see what kind of cookbooks people are into. Can I mention my other classes that aren't with the library that I'm doing? So
Go ahead. Yes.
I told you already about the dates for the next Ossining Library classes, but I also have on Friday, February 19th at 6 o'clock, we're doing, it's another one dish meal. It's a skillet lasagna. So you don't have to worry about layering and cooking for hours and all that stuff and pre-boiling pasta. You do it all right in the skillet. And that's great with whatever type of ground meat, or again, vegan ground is great. I tried it with Beyond Meat. It's nice. And while it's simmering, we'll make garlic bread and a creamy balsamic vinaigrette that if you like Capri here in Ossining, I figured out basically how to make their dressing is so good. I'm not saying don't go to Capri. Please support your local restaurants. However, and I did make this with the kids at Beams in the library once, and one of the girls flipped out because it's her favorite restaurant, favorite salad dressing, and she was very excited. So I have that class coming up, and I have on Sunday, February 28th at noon, a kids class making challah French toast. That's been like one of the favorites so far with the kids, and it's a lot of fun. And I'll be back February and March. We'll be doing this again. I would love to connect with you guys online if you're online. If you ever have any questions, you can feel free to message me or hit reply to Diana and she'll pass on your message to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I can't wait to try all of those. That's awesome. Yeah.
We're
That's
missing
great.
out on the smell, the
Yeah,
nice smell.
I know. That's what we need, right?
If they could invent smell-o-vision, or like my mom, she lives in the Midwest, she wants the like thing where I can just like hand it through the computer.
Someday,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like Willy Wonka, like the Mike TV with the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
I'm sure your family is smelling it all, saying, "Get off the tube. We want to eat."
I banish them to the upstairs while I do my classes, and they're like clawing at the doors trying to get down by the time
That's funny.
they're done. But
Do you have a lot of kids that actually, like go to the classes and stuff? Because
yeah, the
that's a
kids
great
classes
thing.
are always, they're a lot of fun. And the kids they always all participate. So
That's
they're always
great.
clicking alongside and they ask really great questions. And and I love anything to encourage them to like get into the kitchen and try, like they, have an adult in the vicinity with you, because I can't be there in person with you, but it's a really great way for them to like get a little comfortable. I have a little girl who comes to like every single one I do, and she is so proud. Her mom sends me photos. She like makes a meal for the family or a snack. Like, it's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it'll serve her well down the line. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
You know what? Can I just ask you one thing about the sumac? Because
Absolutely.
we have some, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
so like on meat, you said on rice, and you put it on everything.
Put it on. I mean, anything you can just like sprinkle it onto ground grilled meats. I usually do it like as a finishing touch. You can make like a vinaigrette. You could put a little bit of this. I did that with some tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, and chickpeas. I was just trying to make a quick salad. So I put like a little sumac, some lemon juice, olive oil, whisked it together. And then just sometimes sumac is cut with salt. So just taste it before you go adding salt.
Okay.
But and then tossing that and you have like a really quick light thing.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah. And it's a great way if you have like cans of beans or chickpeas. Like I'll do like white beans sometimes or whatever, just to use them and make an easy side dish.
Yeah, that's my lunch tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, cool.
And now, where did you get the spritzer thing? Is that like
I got
online or?
Yeah, I got
That's
this
such a great.
I've had some of the other ones, like Misto, I think is a brand I've tried before, and it didn't last very long. I have all these things, and I have an Amazon shop page that I just basically I collect things and put them there, and people are able to talk to it more, but you can go to it if you want to to find something, or I can I could make a separate list just for like these classes for like things that came up in there, and that way if you go to the shop page you can just go to the like virtual potluck section and you can find anything. If you want me to do that, I can do that.
I think it's such a great thing because I always feel like Pam is so fake,
And some of those have silicone. Some of the spray things have silicone in them. So if you've ever had like a griddle that you've been spraying to make pancakes and the edges get gummy and you can't get them off no matter what you do, it's the silicone is like messing. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why like you can put whatever oil you want in it.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I like that too. That's great.
Yeah. And this one, I think this one is like a mother and son company. So I was like, oh, that's so nice. Like,
Better.
yeah.
Yeah. And those the plastic, not plastic, but the bags that you what are those called again?
Those are called stasher bags. I have all sorts of those like different sizes, and I have those in my shop page too. They come in like down to this size, like little.
Oh yeah, that's great.
They have gallon sizes, and they have ones that are like a pop up, so the bottom is flat, so it'll stand up. Yeah, there's lots of great stuff out there.
Great.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining.
Enjoy your meal.
Yeah, really, we're all jealous. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank
and thank
you.
you, everybody.
We'll see you next month.
Yeah, so February 9th and February 23rd.
Yeah, the 9th is
Okay.
at 7
I
o'clock.
signed up.
At
Awesome.
7, okay?
I look
Great.
forward to seeing what cookbooks.
Thank you.
Yeah, bring
Enjoy.
your cookbook of your TV personality chef. So I
Yeah.
can't wait. That's great. All right. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you, Ashley. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.